Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to another Explainer Focused Learners. Today, we're taking a really deep dive into the architecture of C2 level academic English. We are going to master spatial syntax, specifically that massive leap from simple adverbs of place to highly advanced adverbial clauses. If you've ever felt like your writing was maybe, lacking that precise descriptive edge when talking about locations or conditions, well, this is exactly what you need. Here is our architectural blueprint for today. We're going to start with 1, the baseline, defining adverbs. Then move to 2, evolution, words to clauses. And 3, conjunctions and action. After that, we'll hit 4, crucial rules and formatting, tackle 5, advanced traps and exceptions, and finally wrap up with 6, summary and final quiz. All right, section 1, the baseline, defining adverbs. So let's establish our baseline. At its core, an adverb of place is really just a single word or maybe a very simple phrase. We're talking about words like here, there, everywhere, upstairs, or nearby. You already know these, right? They basically do one simple job. They tell us the location where an action happens. They're totally functional, absolutely necessary, but on their own, they don't exactly offer a ton of sophisticated detail. But here is the upgrade. An adverb clause of place is a dependent clause that actually contains a subject and a verb, and the whole thing functions entirely as an adverb to describe where an action takes place. Now, what's really interesting here is how a simple concept, just pointing to a spot on a map, basically, expands into a full, dynamic grammatical structure. We aren't just saying here anymore. We're suddenly painting a highly specific, condition-based picture of a location. Moving on to section 2, evolution, words to clauses. Let's actually watch this evolution happen step by step. Think about a really basic adverb of place. She is here. It's grammatically correct, sure, but it's pretty flat. Now contrast that with the clause version. She sits where she feels safe. We've completely replaced the single word here with a dependent clause featuring a subject, she, and a verb phrase, feels safe. Suddenly, the location is no longer just a physical spot in a room. It's entirely defined by an emotional condition. Let's try one more just to really cement this. Starting with the purely functional, he went there. Okay, now let's elevate it. He went where his friends were waiting. By evolving that single word there into a full clause with the subject friends and the verb phrase were waiting, the meaning becomes infinitely more descriptive. Honestly, this is exactly how you elevate conversational English into incredibly precise C2 level communication. You give the location actual context. Let's jump into section 3, conjunctions in action. So how do we actually pull this off? We need catalysts, specifically subordinating conjunctions. This is your toolkit right here. Where is our standard universally neutral option? Wherever introduces this great open universal condition. But as we move down the list to everywhere that and anywhere that, we are firmly entering the realm of formal academic writing. I mean, notice how you can park anywhere that you find space. Sounds so much more structured than just casually saying park where you want. And finally, no matter where is an advanced extension that emphasizes absolute certainty, regardless of the location. Listen to this sentence for a second. Everywhere that he looked, he saw evidence of damage. Think about how much more impactful that is than just saying he saw damage everywhere. Using the formal conjunction everywhere that forces you to create a full dependent clause, he looked, and that drastically elevates the academic tone and the narrative weight of the entire statement. Which brings us to section 4, crucial rules and formatting. Okay, so we've got the building blocks and the catalysts. Now let's talk about the structural guardrails. Here are your 3 absolute rules. Rule 1 is the bedrock, clause structure. An adverbial clause must contain a subject and a verb. And because it's dependent, it absolutely cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. The crucial point is mastering that subject-verb dependency. Rule 2 governs our punctuation, specifically based on where the clause actually sits in the sentence. And Rule 3 reminds us that our choice of conjunction dictates the limits of our meaning. For instance, wherever creates a universal any-place condition. Let's zero in on Rule 2, that comma rule, because, let's be honest, this is where even incredibly advanced writers stumble. When our adverb clause is in the initial position at the start of the sentence, wherever she travels, it requires a comma right before the main clause. But look at the exact same clause in the final position. She adapts quickly wherever she travels. Because it seamlessly follows the independent clause, no comma is needed. It's a very rigid rule, but it's super simple once you actually see the structure. Let's move to section 5 and see how this builds advanced traps and exceptions. First up is what I like to call the fatal redundancy error. Listen to this. I will go where I will go there. No way, you just can't say that. This happens when a writer completely forgets that the adverb clause itself is already functioning as the location. Adding the word there at the end literally ruins the structural integrity of the sentence. It's honestly like giving directions to a place you are already standing inside of. The correct C2 syntax is perfectly clean. I will go where you go. Next up, we have to demystify a really insidious trap, mixing up adverb clauses with relative clauses. They often look identical because, well, they both use the word where. But check this out. In the phrase where you go, the clause is modifying the action. The verb phrase will go. Conversely, the relative clause where I live modifies a noun, the place. Adverb clauses tell you about the verb. Relative clauses give you more information about a specific noun. You've got to keep those distinct in your mind. Now, before we wrap up the rules, a quick stylistic note. Why does mastering these conjunctions even matter? Because your choice of syntax dictates your tone. Anywhere that and everywhere that are heavily preferred in academic, formal C2 writing. They immediately signal precision. Conversely, where remains universally neutral. It's perfect for everyday conversation or standard prose, but it might just lack that sharp academic edge when you're drafting a thesis or a really formal report. All right, time for section 6, summary and final quiz. Let's do a rapid-fire summary of this whole micro to macro evolution. An adverb of place is just a single word showing a basic location, right? Like, she is here. But an adverb clause of place utilizes a conjunction, a subject, and a verb to create a highly specific descriptive condition, completely transforming the sentence into, she sits where she feels safe. All right, time to test that syntactic eye. Mini quiz 1. Is the following an adverb clause or a relative clause? This is the city where I was born. I'll give you a second to analyze what the clause is actually modifying. Got it? It is a relative clause. Why? Because where I was born directly modifies the noun the city, not an action. Moving right along to mini quiz 2, commas. Where does the comma belong in this sentence? Wherever he travels, he brings a book. Take a close look at the position of that dependent clause. Okay, the comma belongs immediately after the word travels. Because the adverbial clause, wherever he travels, is sitting in that initial position, our strict formatting rule demands a comma right before the main clause begins. And our final technical challenge, mini quiz 3, spot the error in this sentence. You can park anywhere that you can find space there. Read it carefully. Did you catch that redundancy? The error is the word there at the very end. The clause, anywhere that you can find space, already entirely defines the location for us. Removing that redundant there gives us absolutely perfect C2 syntax. So you've mastered the baseline, you've evolved your syntax, and you've successfully navigated those tricky advanced structural traps. So here's my challenge to you. How will you upgrade your writing today by replacing a basic flat adverb with a highly descriptive adverb clause of place? Seriously, look at your next essay, email, or report, find a simple here or a there, and build a dynamic clause right in its place. Keep learning, keep structuring those brilliant thoughts, and I will see you in the next explainer.